Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Today's video may seem like it's not much of a prepping video, but if you would stick with me and hear me out, I think I can prove a point that it is something that we need to prepare for. In fact, I think of all the things that we talk about on here, of the what ifs, what could happen, inflation could happen, FEMA camps could happen, on and on and on, all this stuff that could happen. I think this is the one thing that probably without a shadow of a doubt is going to happen. I mean, unless something major changes, we are definitely down that path, and we'll get to that here in just a minute, so bear with me on it. Before I get started, number one, I want to answer a question that I've been asked quite a bit here lately. I've been having people ask, am I using a green screen? And I am not using a green screen. I'm on my property. This is one of the couple of creeks that we have. This is a little wet weather creek, and you might see me in different backgrounds, but I don't use a green screen. The only thing I can think of is I'm using a new camera, and I'm recording in 4K. Now, I'm not uploading in 4K because I don't have the internet to do that, because it takes a lot of internet, but I'm recording it in 4K, and then I'm compressing the video down to normal HD. And so the only thing I can think of is the camera is so crisp and clear that maybe it looks like a green screen, but it's certainly not. This is not a green screen behind me. So I just wanted to clear that up, because I've had a few people ask that recently. Another thing, we are hosting another meeting here locally for those of you that are interested, and it doesn't mean that you have to live around me to come to this meeting. If you want to come to it wherever you live, that's fine. It'll be the first Sunday in June, and I know it's been a while since we've had one, but there's been some things on personal on my part, and then also with the facility that we rent, they were having some. They had to do some work on it, and so it threw us off and all that kind of stuff. I will, in some videos here in the next few days, give you some more detailed information on that and start putting that out. But if you're interested, June 6th, for those of you that came last time, it'll be the same place, same time on June, I believe it's June 6th. It's the first Sunday of June. And I'll get some more details on what we'll be talking about and doing and all that kind of stuff. All right, so let's get on with the show. Have you folks seen these military recruitment ads that's been floating around? There's the one for our own United States Army, and it's a cartoon with a girl, and we'll get to that one here in a minute. And I think probably a lot of you have seen that one. It's the woke video, where she's talking about having two moms, and she, has marched for people's rights. Basically, she's one of these, left-leaning activists. It strongly alludes to that. In the video and in the things that it's showing. And a lot of people are commenting that, it shows a woke but weak military. There's also been some recruitment videos from the CIA where they are, someone is gay or transgender, and again, they're trying to portray this woke, that our government is woke, and if you are one of these, far left progressive liberals, then you're welcome to come work for us. I am going to play two videos right here. The audio is going to be off because they're in a foreign language and most of you wouldn't be able to understand it. I don't know what they're talking about. But it's an Army recruitment video for China, and then an Army recruitment video for Russia. And so this should be playing about right now, and I'm going to just let these things play out while I speak. There's a point to what I'm saying here. I'm not necessarily just complaining about this wokeness that we're all hearing about, that we have to be all inclusive, unless you believe in any kind of traditional family values, biblical based values. Everything else is considered open, fair game, and has to be all inclusive and super tolerant, again, unless you believe in traditional family, biblically based values. And this is nothing new. You're all aware of this unless you've been living under a rock for the last several months. You probably have gotten sickened by it because it's very much in our face. I don't speak a whole lot on this gender identity stuff and the multi genders that are there's every different kind of gender identity now that you can imagine. It's crazy because only a very small percentage of our population even identifies as that, but yet it's in the news all the time. It's the White House is talking about it. In fact, I believe it was one of the first or very first executive orders that the current president signed. It was on his first day of office. I know that for certain. Basically, acknowledging the human rights of trans people and all this kind of stuff. That's not necessarily the topic for the day's video, but it definitely works with it. What I want to get to is that, again, we talk about all these other what ifs that we want to prepare for. What if the grand solar minimum is really bad? What if the magnetic poles reverse? What if there's a CME? What if the dollar hyperinflates and the economy crashes? What if? What if they do a shot in the arm passport? All this kind of stuff. Well, here's something that's not a what if. Because unless I'm really, really off on this, I think it is currently happening and will happen. And what I'm getting at is that the United States no longer being the number one world superpower, the United States no longer being the global currency standard, the United States no longer being the most powerful and most respected military power, the United States no longer being any kind of highly respected, the most, the biggest, the number one, the top dog of anything. And that's something that I think is probably a 99.99999% chance that it is definitely going to happen. We are already seeing that. When you look at last year, regardless of what you believe with this health crisis and whether or not it was, orchestrated and or whatever. Look at the economy of China versus everybody else. Virtually every nation on this planet, including ours, our economy went down. It went into the negative, okay? We went into the red last year, except China. They increased. China is now the world's largest producer of virtually everything. And they have had the largest military for a very long time. And I know that, here in America, we always say, yeah, well, they may have the biggest military, but, we have all the planes, we have all the ships, and we have all this kind of stuff, the technology. Let me tell you something. China is very rapidly catching up. They are in overdrive in catching up. Same thing with Russia. Russia, went from being a communist nation and their economy kind of collapsed and they, have always tried to kind of look like they were a big dog, but everyone kind of knew, well, you once were, but you're not anymore. Well, that's starting to change too. They're doing everything they can to rebuild themselves as a global military superpower. And on the other hand, America is kind of not really doing that anymore. Yes, we are advancing technologically, and we most certainly have the most technologically advanced military on the planet. And one might argue that that's enough, that we don't need, all these tough troops that can do all this tough stuff that, the military has done in past wars, that we just need a lot of really advanced technology, and that's enough. But here's the thing, China's doing that too. I mean, I think, and Russia, you could even say, I think China and Russia are kind of kicking our butts when it comes to cyber warfare. Do we have that capability? Some people think we do, but they're definitely, handing it to us when it comes to cyber warfare, and they have for several years, and including the most recent pipeline hack down in the southeast. I know. Officially, the official narrative is that had nothing to do with any foreign government, but something that big in Russia is not going to be done without the approval or knowledge of Putin and the Russian government, and you're not going to make me believe any different. The point is, we are very rapidly losing our prominence on this planet in virtually every area. And we're becoming the nation we're becoming a European country. And in fact, we're becoming worse than a lot of European countries, because a lot of European, not all of them, but some European countries have kind of put the brakes on becoming this progressive left wokeness, and have realized that that's probably not been the best policy over the past decade or so, and they're trying to kind of backtrack that, and they're seeing that it wasn't really that great of an idea. Whereas here in America, it's full speed ahead. I mean, we've hit the nitrous button, and we're running on all 8 cylinders. We've redlined it, and we are moving very rapidly towards this very progressive, woke, all-inclusive, whatever you want to identify as, super ultra tolerant, and most importantly, very feminized and very soft and very basically weak, and certainly nothing to do with strength, integrity, discipline, masculinity, anything like that. I mean, we've turned those into curse words, basically, whereas the rest of the world, or at least the superpowers of the world, are embracing those even more than ever. Several weeks back, and I talked about it on one of my episodes, but you probably remember Tucker Carlson on Fox News did a little segment kind of about this, and he received a lot of heated backlash because he was comparing China's military to our military, and saying that China basically realized a few years ago that their troops and their military were becoming a little too soft. That they were being, raised by single mothers, and they were being coddled as children and as young men, and they were coming into the military not being as tough as what they really wanted. And so they started programs to toughen these boys and these young men, so that when they get into the military, they're already kind of on their way to being tough. And whereas here in the United States, we're talking about, allowing women to have whatever kind of hairdo they want, and allowing any kind of gender identity, and then, giving free surgeries for them, and adjusting our uniforms to that, and having multiple different bathrooms, and, all this kind of garbage that has nothing to do with strength and integrity and masculinity and just toughness. It has to do with, we want to have this progressive, whatever. The video that I'm talking about, if you haven't seen it, the United States Army video, I'll probably put up a little clip of this. And basically, it's this cartoon of this young girl, young woman, and it's based on a real life person, and she has 2 mothers, and she's from Southern California, and she talks about how she, went to the University of California, and she used to march in, women's rights and gay rights, and you can see it shows it in the little cartoon, and that, all of her friends were going out and doing all these, World Peace Corps, and climbing mountains and doing all these tree hugger kind of things, and she decided to join the U.S. Army. And some people might look at that and say, oh, well, that's good. At least we converted one of those, liberals into No, that's not what it is. What we're seeing is the military more and more, and I'm not saying that everyone, there's certainly many that aren't. I know there's a lot of active duty, and certainly a lot of you veterans that watch this channel, so please don't think that I'm saying what you think I'm saying. The military is, from the top levels of the brass, they're starting to open arms of any kind of far left woke things. We've talked about it on this channel of how the type of training now that, you know, if you're a little too patriotic, if you're a patriotic extremist, in fact, because the military, the DOD says that that's the most dangerous thing to the United States Army. The most dangerous thing. It's not terrorists, it's not China, it's not Russia, it's not any of those things. The DOD has stated that one of the most dangerous things, dangerous threats to the United States military are patriotic extremists. That's right. You know, you've heard about all the interviews that they've done, you know, trying to weed out any patriots in the military, and how they, you know, all these you know, tolerance training that they're putting the soldiers through now, of, you know, that we have to accept everyone regardless of what gender they are, and we have to make sure we're using all the proper pronouns for whoever is in the military now. We have to make all these accommodations, you know, no matter what, you know, they choose to be. You know, if they choose to be a you know, a female wombat crossed with a dog, I mean, I don't know. I get confused. I'm an old guy, got it? You know, I'm an old man, and all these crazy new identity things that just seem pretty weird to me. And the military is just opening arms, welcoming all that in, while other militaries, including the ones that we would consider our greatest adversaries left on this planet, are doing just the opposite. And not only are they training their military to be tougher, to be more masculine, to be more disciplined, they're bragging about it. They're bragging about it to the world. And the world, all these smaller nations or nations that might be on the fence if a big conflict started to happen, of which side to choose, they're going to be thinking, well, we have the side that's the tough guys. We have the ones that are traditional values, that they actually still train their military to be tough men and even tough women. Or we have the flag waving, you know, rainbow flag waving, you know, all inclusive, you know, all tolerant, gender multi-identity military. And what are some of these nations going to choose? I mean, do they really want their military serving side by side with ours in the future? I mean, if I was a world leader, I would be thinking about that. This is something that, and then we're just talking about military. We're not even getting into the financial aspect of that. The world is seeing our country spend its way to its grave. Other countries like China and Russia, they're investing in gold. Many other smaller countries are repatriating gold and investing in gold, or they're investing in things like Bitcoin and solid cryptocurrencies. And what is the United States doing? Well, we're just going more and more and more into debt, into debt, into numbers that would mirror and even look worse than countries that have hyperinflated their currency. And I think the only reason why we haven't hyperinflated our currency is because it's the US dollar, and there's still some respect and there's still some faith in it. But that's going to end at some point in the future. So the point to today's video, folks, is that regardless of what you think might happen in the future with all these other things, I think one thing that is quite certain is that we are entering an era that the United States is no longer going to be the world superpower for pretty much anything. I mean, we don't produce anything anymore. We haven't for many years. China does that. We still grow a lot of food, but man, with all the regulations that the Biden administration is wanting to put, that may change, and we may no longer be the global superpower when it comes to agriculture. And then all these green regulations and the Paris Accord and all that kind of stuff that they're pushing at us, we're going to be, you know, losing the battle on being the world superpower and a lot of other things, along with now, you know, possibly military superpower, financial superpower, education superpower. We lost that a long time ago. We're not looking at just being second best anymore. We're looking at being way down towards the bottom if we don't stop this. We are with many things already. And I don't think that a lot of people have quite let it sink in exactly what that means for us. Even if the, you know, government doesn't collapse and there isn't some kind of new world order kind of thing, at least not like a lot of the conspiracy theorists think, just the fact that we will no longer be the global superpower in virtually every area you can name, that's going to be kind of a big deal. And it's going to affect us in a lot of ways, and it's going to affect our wallet, because we have the privilege in the United States of having a lot of cheap goods because we're the global superpower, and we can dictate what things cost because of our currency and because of our power. But when that's gone, we're going to be like a lot of these other countries, and we're going to pay for gas whatever they tell us to pay for, and we're going to pay for it at the grocery store whatever they tell us, and we're going to get what they tell us, which probably isn't going to be the best or a lot. And add that to already the issues with our currency and our economy and everything. That right there, this whole scenario that I'm speaking of, is an SHTF in itself. And it's something that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. So as I wrap this video up quickly, or try to, how can we combat this? Well, of course, you prepare. You prepare like you do with everything else. But another thing you need to do is teach your children to be strong men and women, grow up to be strong young men and women. Teach them the biblical, teachings, teach them traditional teachings, teach them what's right and wrong, teach them that right and wrong is not this relative, spectrum, that it is right and there is wrong, and then that's just all there is to it. There's sin and then there's not, and there's righteousness and there's sin. That's just how it is. And teach them to be strong, and teach them to be proud of who they are, and to be disciplined in themselves, and try to raise up at least a few people left in this country that aren't soft and gentle or overly gentle, and that are overly tolerant of every possible thing, and yet look with disdain upon traditional moral and biblical values. This is one that I don't think we recognize enough, that it's happening right now. It's not coming. It's not a maybe. It's not a what if. It's happening, folks. So be ready for that. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.